to my video on removing fraud alerts. This video has been long overdue. Seems like everybody in the industry cannot get this figured out, which I understand because there are certain reasons why things don't work and why they do work. So I'm going to share with you what they are and why they are not working. Fraud alerts are different than security freeze. A security freeze you can put on your file to freeze your credit so nobody will pull it. Now, a lot of old school people, idiots that actually try to do funding they thought, well, we'll put a security freeze on 2 out of 3 bureaus and try and get funding on one bureau because they're too clueless to know what bureaus pull from what lender pulls from what bureau and what state that client is from causes it to come up on which certain bureau, because there's certain things in funding that are a lot of factors that are involved, and many things in funding accumulated to equal different results. So that being said, let's get into the fraud alert video. And I mentioned this because they thought brilliantly, well, we'll put a security freeze on the other 2 bureaus so we can only get funding on the one. But in reality is you still are pulling random inquiries even on the one bureau or the other bureaus, and it still adds up and it still gets bad funding. And these people are clueless, because when you get funding, they always get the lowest ratios, if they get any ratio of funding at all, or they get massive amounts of inquiries. I mean, I've been doing this for so many years, and I've seen so many people making the giantest mistakes on funding. It's incredible. If people would just realize, if you hire the best person, you're going to get the best results and benefits that you didn't even think about, because the long-term results and the long-term amount of money versus losing thousands of dollars and tons of time and tons of months. Anyways, so check out my credit repair website at capitalcashempire.com for funding results or credit repair results. All right, so now that's just some foundation how to explain before we get to this. So that brings us to the topic of removing fraud alerts. You have Experian, Equifax, and Transunion. There's a couple general problems with removing fraud alerts. This is why all these idiot funders always, almost 99% of the time, even self-funders, make this mistake minute one. And everybody makes this mistake almost minute one, because everybody says, well, I removed the fraud alerts, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, you did. Of course you did. This is why you need to hire a professional that knows what they're doing. Because the problem is, when everybody does that, they say, well, I removed them already and I still got a decline. No kidding. Well, the reason why is because 2 out of 3 bureaus will report and remove them within 24 hours. One of them will remove them in 48 hours. But if you do one at one time or one at another time, depends on the time of day, it will be removed at another time. So what happens is you go and remove the fraud alert from all 3, and then you go try and get your funding. What happens? Your fraud alert is still there. Well, of course it is, because the one bureau that's 48 hours re-triggers the other 2, so you have the fraud alert back on there. Okay, so they're like, oh, well, I'm smart. He just told me that. Screw you. I'm gonna go get my own funding. And then I say, okay, go look. Good luck, buddy. Whatever. And then they go run off, do it again. And what happens again? They get another decline. And they call me up and say, I'm so sorry. What? I just got another decline again. Well, okay, if I'm nice, I'll tell them the other explanation. The other reason why, which no one even knows about, is that it doesn't even show up on your credit report as an extended fraud alert. When you have a fraud alert, the extended fraud alert isn't even identified on the credit report. So when you're getting declines all the time after you've already done the fraud alert removal, even if you figured out that 2 out of 3 bureaus is on 24-hour cycle versus 48-hour, which most people can't even figure that one out. And the way around it is that you remove all 3, and then you got to go back and double check it like 2 or 3 days later, all 3 again. So you remove all 3 bureaus, the fraud alert on all 3 bureaus once, then you wait like 3 or 4 days again, and you go back and do it again on all 3 again. That way you're safe. This costs people so many thousands of dollars, it's crazy because this happens all the time. Okay, so that's issue number 1. Now the other issue is the extended fraud alert. That has to be removed. When you do remove the original fraud alert, you have to specifically state and specify, be it on the phone or by mail, that not only are you removing the fraud alert, but the extended fraud alert. And people will say, well, I didn't put the fraud alert on there. I didn't put the extended fraud alert on there. Yeah, I know. No kidding. The bureaus do it on their own. So this system that they have and the way they have it in the timing ends up always being the biggest detriment to people not getting any funding. On top of the fact they go to the wrong places with the wrong everything, and they get the wrong bureaus and the wrong amount of ratios because they have the wrong file set up and the way things are even laid out on top of this. So those are the 2 biggest problems that you have to overcome. Once you overcome those, and I'm really making this video for my clients because everybody else out there, they can listen to all this stuff and I can teach you all these things or what I put on the internet, and you go try and whittle and hack out things on your own, commercial real estate, all this stuff, and get all bad results or not even end up with the type of money that I could get them or the type of funding in commercial real estate and have the proof to back it up. It's just I get tired of dealing with people that don't want to listen. That's why I don't care if I have a ton of views and I don't care if I have 1,000 people. I'm not trying to get every person out there because most people out there, especially in financial industry, are retarded, and most clients, well, not most clients, but I mean most people in general that try to do that, they're stupid. They're just completely stupid. I mean, there's ways to getting rich and getting wealth, and it takes a smart person to realize you have to go to the best person and build on that and have everybody on your team as the best. But if you want to keep hacking away and doing all these mistakes on your own, then you end up with the crappy file and you end up got to come back to me because you got inquiries or somebody that thinks they can remove them. But they always say they can remove them in like 2 days or 1 day, and they lie and they don't. But anyhow, or Creditrepair, whatever, it all comes back. I mean, I see the same clients over and over again. I mean, they call me, then they go do it on their own, or they try Creditrepair 3 years later, same thing, or 3 years later they got baby money and they go nowhere. Okay, so much for the soapbox. Let's get to the point now. Experian, as in, you can call in Experian on 866-369-0418 and hit also Experian, which has their own little form. You can technically upload this online, and when you upload it online, you got to send it in with your ID and 2 copies of your utility bill with your current address that matches what's on their file. So that is a trick in itself, and you can upload it. The upload system barely works half the time, so I wouldn't count on it. The phone call can work sometimes, but like I said, if you're going to do the phone call route, you will have to do, or mail, I would say do both at the same time, and the upload. I would overkill everything. So you address this issue. I would do Experian, Equifax, Transunion, all 3, and then go back 4 days later and do them all again to make sure, because it's going to cost you a lot of money. One fraud alert is going to cost you a whole deal. So Experian, like I said, there's the phone number, or you go to the website and you can upload it, or you can mail it to Experian. Okay, so here's the address for Experian to mail it, and that takes care of Experian. Now you go to Equifax. You want to call in 800-846-5279. Same thing. You want to tell them you want to upload it. And also, when you're going to do that, you're going to want to mail it in to Equifax Consumer Fraud Division, blah, 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 Atlanta, Georgia. Send it in with your documentation, the same as Experian. Ideally, driver's license, 2 proofs of address. I'd even throw in your social security card. As well as when you're doing this, the fraud alerts will go on your file whenever you've done any repair, any dispute. The problem is when people get inquiries, they don't know when to take them off, and they don't know when to stop applying for loans because they keep getting turn downs. But when you have massive amount of inquiries, or when you start using this fraud alert system, or because you're not using the system, but when you start removing inquiries, it triggers a fraud alert. But if you go in and you remove inquiries too soon, or you don't do it on the right amount, and you've removed fraud alert, the more you do removing the fraud alert, the harder it gets each time. So this is why other funders have other issues, because they don't know to remove the extended fraud alert, and as well as they're going to remove inquiries every time they get, because they don't know what the amount of inquiries is per file and things like that. If you come to me, I'm not going to get turn downs because I know the shot before I even call it, and I know what the results are ahead of time. So if you're doing it smart, you won't have to do this fraud alert removal. I mean, after you get out of Creditrepair, yes, you're going to want to do it one time, and then funding and all that stuff, and then strategically do things, do it the smart way. So know that when you're removing the fraud alert, every time you do it, you're adding into your file the difficulty it's going to be to remove it later. So when I'm saying remove fraud alert, you want to do this one time, and then be strategically about your file, making your file the maximum funding ratio, and getting the right order and the right path to get the most money on your credit. So then the funding gets to be the most level of funding. And then when you do corporate credit, you're getting 1 to 3 million versus all these other people getting, I'm talking 1 to 3 million credit lines and loans, not like baby credit cards. I can do business corporate funding credit cards. The most I've ever done is 800,000, but I try not to do that as much because there's more money if you do it the other way. So, okay, so there's your phone numbers for Experian, Equifax, and Transunion phone number is 800-680-7289. Or call this 800-888-4213, as well as mail in a copy. But if you do this and remove them, knowing that the fraud alert has to be removed not once, but twice on all 3 bureaus, because the one is going to trigger the 3. And I can tell you which one it is, but it won't matter because you want to be double safe anyhow. Because even if you did all 3 and I tell you which one it is, depending on the time of day you do it, one 24-hour may end up being at a different 24-hour than the other one. So it's always best to do the removal of all 3 twice. That way you're not getting declines, and you're not costing yourself thousands of dollars. And if you're coming to me and you have only 1 bureau left, and you have 2 bureaus that are maxed out or got torched on inquiries or torched on lates and declines and whatever's on it, and you only have 1 bureau left, and you have a check systems or something, and you have a certain strategic path to make it to like 200,000 or 300,000, each single lender in that order, in that sequence, counts tremendously. And if you got a fraud alert and you didn't do the removal twice, like I said, or paid attention to this, and that's your one shot, you just blew 200,000 bucks. Now, in a lot of cases, not everybody's stuck with one single bureau to fund on, but a lot of times people are stuck with, when they come to me after they've already hacked it up, or somebody's already torched it with whatever lender that went out there and tried to get money and they couldn't get crap, or they got a baby amount, or they flooded it with whatever, and I'm trying to do damage control. Yeah, maybe you have 2 or 3 bureaus left, if you're lucky. So sequence, order, and the right lender and the right, each inquiry is critical because that leads to the path to others. So if you get the wrong one, minute one, because I know what's going to fit each file for each state and each person, absolute best first. If that's a decline, well, you just lost the rest. That means we have to go in there and fix things. Whereas your normal moron lenders, that means they're not that smart. They wouldn't even go to the first place in the right place in the very beginning. They would just get you, massive amounts of more inquiries, and just ruin the file even more. So that is something you have to consider as well. So now that you have the numbers and you have the addresses to get this in, and now you know the two real big problems, the removing the fraud alert has to happen twice, probably wait 4 days apart, and you could probably do phone, if you're aggressive, you want to do phone call and mail or whatever, just give this a little bit of time and then go back in there and remove all three of them again a second time. And when you're doing this, both times call, make sure you specify in writing and on the phone, not only remove the fraud alert, but you have to point blank clearly state on paper or on words on the phone, also remove the extended fraud alert, because you can pull somebody's credit file and see you will never see any words on any credit repair file or any credit report that says extended fraud alert. They don't ever state it. It's under the file. It's in the file. It's in the records on the phone system, but it's not on the records on the credit report. And also, there is also another credit bureau that is unseen to the public and is known for the lenders that they also report to as well. And they state things like whether the client is a troubled client within customer service, or they have or if they don't like your profession, or certain things. And it is very, I guess you would say unethical, but it does exist, and there's certain professions that cannot get any personal funding and things like that. So these are other things to be aware of. So now that you know everything about fraud alerts, the extended fraud alerts, how to remove them, that's what you want to do. Now, the whole security freeze thing and that whole agenda, which somebody came up with a long time ago, and it completely doesn't work because it just destroys the file more, and it's just less knowledge they know of where to go, and it's just one tactic they used in the past. I mean, people have done all kinds of stuff. I've seen it all. But don't try that method, because it's not going to get you anywhere. It's the same thing, because when they do that, one will trigger all three. So it doesn't even work anyhow. I'm just bringing it up because of, I need a shirt that says I see stupid people all day, because I get tons of competitors and people wanting to get in the industry, and they want to quiz me and just ask me the dumbest questions, and then they want to, which questions are great and everything, but I can tell when it's a competitor or something, or when they hire me for Creditrepair and they're like, 5 minutes later, they're like, I want a refund. Well, you just hired me and you didn't look at all of the proof I have, because I have proof of $800,000 mortgages being turned from 30 to 60 to 9 days to perfect payment history. I have perfect payment history removed and fixed, turning perfect on school loans and other things, and credit repair done, because I've done so long that they just want to get a quick answer and email or whatever to figure out what I'm doing. But even then, you're not going to figure out what I'm doing, because I've been doing so long that I use many different methods and different ways for funding and different ways for credit repair, and every file is different. And I have, records of all sorts of scenarios from funding from all these clients for so many years, and I know exactly what the outcome is on every scenario and where I'm going with everybody on the funding. That's why I get the most money. That's why nobody out there can get, they won't even say they get $1 million. They lie. I mean, on credit cards, business credit funding, they say, oh, we can get up to $500,000 business credit funding. They can't get crap, and they have a whole staff of a bunch of kids. They just learned from their little wannabe ebook, and their credit card funding is even sucking. It doesn't even fund that much. These guys do this like a McDonald's, and they run them through like they're ordering fries, and they throw them out to all these people and collect their little money up front, and they never get the big money because they're always doing like the simple, quick, easy fix, and they don't even get the big picture. They don't even know the big picture because they never made it past the big picture, and they never made anybody in the millions, and they've never done anything in the millions. But anyhow, that's a whole nother story. Sorry about the soapbox, but I give out sparse information because I just want the smart people. I don't care about the views. I don't care about trying to make my YouTube channel the biggest one on the internet. It doesn't matter. I just want key people, help them out, get them from each level to each level, and keep them as long-term clients, and then keep building on them. So there we go. That's the fraud alert, and that's all the key things you need to worry about and how to get things removed off your credit report. All right. Well, thanks a lot, and talk to you guys later.
Power, realize your power, finding out myself, finding out myself. Power, realize your power, finding out myself, finding out myself. Go where you wanna go, do what you're gonna do what you wanna do, go where you wanna go. Get on with it, come on, get on with it, come on, get on with it, come on, get on with it. This what I say, what I say. Listen what I say, listen what I say, listen what I say, what I say. Get on with it, come on, get on with it. I go left, you go right, live it up, dance all night. I go left, you go right, live it up, dance all night. I go left, you go right, live it up, dance all night. I go left, you go right. Baby, you're gonna be mine. Baby, you looking so fine. Baby, you gonna be mine. Baby, you looking so fine. Baby, you're gonna be mine. Baby, you looking so fine. Baby, you gonna be mine. Baby, you looking so fine. I go left, you go right, live it up, dance all night. I go left, you go right, live it up, dance all night. I go left, you go right, live it up, dance all night. Go right, live it up, dance on, get on top now, get on top, get on top, get on top, yeah. Power, realize your power, finding out myself, finding out myself. I go left, you go right, live it up, dance all night. I go left, you go right, dance on, I go left, you go right. Power, realize your power, finding out myself, finding out myself.